Hello everybody, this is Alan Lardieri here, talking about the Hercules compound miter saw and stand today. I'm just going to basically run through this thing today. I got a few little projects that I would like to try to accomplish with it. Some pretty simple stuff, and I'm going to just give some first impressions of it. I'm not overly power tool learned. These are things that I'm newly acquiring, so honestly, as I release some of these videos, I'm just learning pretty much as I go, and just trying to get some tools that are, have good quality and also have cost effectiveness in mind. This one here, on the cost side, couldn't ask for anything better, and so far what the quality is and some of the reviews that I've seen, you certainly can't beat them either. Still has a $2.99 coupon on the saw itself and a $149 on the stand, which is a pretty good overall savings. Definitely even more so if you were going to buy a DeWalt of the same functionality. In fact, in a lot of reviews, this thing is way ahead of DeWalt, not only just on price, especially on this stand. This stand here is capable of holding 550 pounds. The saw itself is just slightly over 50, and I'm trying to understand, what kind of work you're going to be doing. It's going to be 500 pounds you're going to throw on this, but either way, this thing's prepared for it. One of the first things I did when I got with the saw here is I wanted to see how it is out of the box. Just see how square the blade is in relation to the platform you're going to be working off of. And this thing, right out of the box, it seems to be perfectly dead on. One thing that I found kind of odd about this saw, this is a saw and stand of the same manufacturer, Hercules, which is the top line for Harbor Freight. The rubber base pads that are on the miter saw itself, they do not match up well with the rails that mount to the actual stand itself. So actually what would happen when you would go and you would torque this thing down onto the stand rail mounts, they would cant and bend in. What I did to alleviate that is I went to Lowe's. I found some pretty thick nylon washers and put a few relief cuts with an angle grinder to where these would fit in. I had to make, for the two front ones, I had to make two cuts, remove some material from the thick washer. And on the back I had to do one to get around that rubber pad, and also there's a kind of a metal housing that contains that rubber pad. Don't know how that slipped past the manufacturers, but it obviously did. It wasn't an overly expensive fix, but I imagine it'd be something that you would want to address with continued use with this, because you might mess up the rails or mess up something else. Something eventually is going to give with regular use of it if you don't have this thing mounted completely flush on there and not where the rails are in a bind. So we're going to get a little bit closer look at this saw. It has a really unique guideline setup. It's not using a laser. A laser can of course get knocked off, and you'd have to re-zeal that laser to correlate with the actual cut on the blade. The neat thing with this one is it uses this really bright LED light here to actually shadow the blade. So no matter which way the blade's laying, you're always going to be true no matter what, and there's no zeroing off that light or anything. It puts on a really good line, which I'll show you here in a little bit. Even in this bright daylight, it seems like you're going to be able to see it quite well. You can see how that line forms. So no matter where the blade moves, if the blade ever moves or shifts or you put a new blade on there, there's no re-zeroing of a laser or nothing. So it does really good. The stand and the saw, pretty heavy. These supports will actually go out quite a ways. I think it can handle 8-foot pieces. So this thing is basically, seems like it's a mobile, pretty much a mobile workshop factory, honestly. Really impressed so far, guys. But let's do some cutting here and see what this guy can do. Quick specs on it again. This is a 12-inch. It has a ability to cut horizontally 14 inches, which is pretty good. It's going to come in handy with this slide cut here. Alright, just going to get into this. Slice it. Okay, so here we go. Did a few cuts, a few angle cuts. Nothing overly elaborate. Hey, I'm a novice, but there's just certain things I'm not a novice in some other areas, and some things just translate over into others, and that's just if you can feel if something's well constructed. And of course, time will tell. This thing cuts very accurately, and it also cuts extremely clean. You can see right there. And that's, that's the reverse side of it. That's the side that was lying down. Typically, of course, you're going to have burrs, you're going to have it on that end. This thing almost looks like it's been sanded. It's cutting so good. And these saws do come with a real good high quality blade with laser etching in it. These relief cuts, one I understand, it probably has something to do with harmonics. Also has something to do with you don't hear that pinging noise as soon as you shut the blade off. It's not a cheap blade at all. I think it is 60 tooth. This thing is pretty awesome. I mean, I'm just pretty excited. I'm becoming quite the power tool nerd, and I guess it's time to clean up. But just initial impressions. We'll see as this thing goes along, and I'll keep everybody pretty much up to date on it. But cut me some stuff here to get a wall-mounted reloading bench squared away. Got all my pre-cuts made, and I screwed together everything that could be done out here, kind of in prefab style. But now it's time to go get a leaf blower and clean this mess up. That's pretty much all I have, guys. Really nice Hercules compound miter saw and stand. Again, the only issue I had really was, and it really doesn't make much sense to me, is the mounting onto the rails that actually mount down onto the stand itself. But beyond that, I think this is something that will be a wonderful addition for anybody and an unbeatable value, honestly. So, this is Elmar Deary, Redfield Golf's out here.